couple things. One thing that is guaranteed different is that there is no 2% I wonder or 5% I wonder if I'm actually an addict or an alcoholic.
So it was a little clip from today's show with Ryan Bathgate. He's my co-host, very good friend. We had a great conversation today about recovery, his continued journey after a recent relapse, which I think is really powerful, given who he is and what he knows after being around in the industry for so long, and of course his own journey. Hey, listen, the title sponsor for today's episode is FAR Canada. That's Families for Addiction Recovery. They are a totally free service. They focus on the family members of people who have suffered an addiction. 4 times a month, they offer a group meeting for people to get together who are, in similar situations and talk things out. They also offer a peer-to-peer support system, which is absolutely next level. And of course, some real-time help if you catch them during their business hours. And you can call and talk to Sydney, who is one of my favorite human beings. You can learn more about them at farcanada.org. And in the meantime, here's the show. Hello, everybody. Watchers, listeners, supporters of all kinds. Welcome to another episode of the Ashes Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Chuck LaFlange, checking in from Krabi, Thailand. Halfway around the world in virtual studios, my good friend and co-host Ryan Bathgate in Mission, BC. How you doing today, Ryan?
I am hot, man. I'm hot. It's hot. I'm hot. Relate. It is like Mars out there right now. Like, I literally come out of air-conditioned stores and everything like starts melting and everything starts slowing down.
This has been my reality for so long now, right?
Yeah. Well, we're in it.
Which is, it's funny because I've been on a no air conditioning for the last 24 hours. I just turned it on so we record this podcast without me sweating and being all gross, right? My electric bill is higher than my rent, right? Considerably higher than my rent. So I'm like, okay, no more aircon, right? So I got a big fan. I'm just waiting for them to deliver a big fan, the one that I'm using to borrow. But trying to get by with just that, and it sucks.
Yeah, I got central air. I got air in my truck. I went and hit a bucket of balls today and chipped around a little bit. Chipping I need a lot of work on that part of my game.
Okay. Yeah.
However, played Comox last week. Played Glacier, the base course, and me and my buddy Nate, and I had a really good round. I got to say,
good stuff.
I hit some good putts, and yeah, man. I mean, you know what? Let's getting real or a little under the surface. It is a spectacular event to be in this space of existence right now. Like, I know this exists, but I don't know if I've ever been in this space before. And mostly probably because of wisdom more than anything, like experience and knowledge. Well, I guess there's a couple things. One thing that is guaranteed different is that there is no 2% I wonder or 5% I wonder if I'm actually an addict or an alcoholic. That has been completely put to bed. And there is no doubt in my mind that I cannot consume alcohol or drugs like somebody who doesn't have a substance use disorder.
Right.
And so I think that has given me a lot of freedom or release or something. And the way that the universe conspires is I use that word objectively because it does it both ways. I mean, I got here for a reason. And that was a product of a lot of shitty things that I did, whether it be lying or, most of it boils down to dishonesty based on fear.
Yeah.
And so, what's really shifted is that it's not even that the dishonesty's been removed. The dishonesty is a byproduct. What's been removed is the fear of living. The fear of, all of those little things, not measuring up, not being good enough, people finding out, which is the big one, what if people figure out that I'm not as smart as I'm trying to pretend like I am? Then who am I, And we have these things that disconnect us from other people. And when I think about what those things are all very self-driven. and they are dishonesty, having secrets, lacking integrity, lacking transparency, really lacking an ability to be honest with myself and portray that version of myself to the world. And there's an immense amount of fear that's all wrapped around that when it's outside of my awareness. And
Okay.
and that so that when we think about the dialectic opposing arrogance versus self-worth, that teeter-totter,
Mhm.
when we look at the things that promote the arrogance, which are the things I just named, which are like the lack of honesty, lack of presence, lack of integrity, lack of compassion, lack of understanding. You know what I mean? Like all that selfishly driven stuff. When that stuff is transformed, it turns into the exact opposite, which makes a teeter-totter go the other way. So my
Of course.
self-worth goes up, my arrogance goes down. But what is not dialectically opposed, but actually is in concert with, is the humility factor. And so when my ego's low, my humility goes up. And those two are kind of opposites, don't hold the same space at the same time. So I'm in this space right now that it's like, I don't know if it's about like being broken down and born anew. I don't really like that philosophy. I don't like the breakdown thing, but the reality is like, dude, I was in a jail cell with
pretty broken down, right?
Well, like it was
the
the
prospect
only
of losing your family forever, right?
and it's the
Like,
only
that's
place that I would have come to
yeah.
the realization that I am through and through substance use disorder to the T. There's nothing unique about me. You know what I mean? Like, and then it was like, whoa, shit! Like, self-centered to the core means that I put myself and what I want ahead of the things that I love, which are obviously my family. And then it was that old saying, whatever you put in front of your recovery, you will lose. Well, I can't argue with it. As much as I would want to, I can't argue with that statement. Because that's exactly what was going to happen. If it wasn't for the beautiful nature of people in my life and their ability to like see through, see past, it does help. Like it's interesting because it's tough sledding to deal or to navigate with people that just don't understand substance use disorder, and it's really easy to tell the people that do, because they see the human being behind the behavior. The people that don't understand it see the behavior.
Well, and man, and we'll talk about that real quick, and it's something that we talk about pre-record, so thank you for kind of getting to that place with me. But is a big advocate for people carrying Narcan from the early days in the show. I kind of got away from doing that as a PSA. I'm bringing that back in, actually, as of this episode.
Excellent.
We'll be back into doing the PSA about carrying Narcan. I think it's a really important element. I'm not sure why I got away from it because of laziness, because it was extra work to cut it into the episode. And
well, hold on.
Ridiculous.
Hold on, though. So, we're not. I don't want to kick that too far, because let's look at the body of work. I don't want you to beat yourself up over something stupid like that.
No, I don't. It's the reality. I acknowledge that that's why I did it, and I just kind of carry on from it.
I don't like the word lazy. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, okay. It was a not wanting to do that little extra work. So you can call it whatever you want, right? But
close to capacity.
Fair enough. Okay. So, but let's not dwell on that too much, right? Because I'm not beating myself up for it. I'm just like, all right. Let's get back to it and be good with that, right? So, but one of the best ways I have to help people to pass that message along is not just inside the podcast, but on the platform and social media, right? Mm-hmm. So I made an ad, and I actually I boosted it, which is a very rare thing. It's not in my budget to do these things, as you well know. But I thought it was just one of these things that's really important, right? Like, please just carry Narcan. We have, today's PSA is brought to you by AARC. That's the Alberta Adolescent Recovery Center, located in, of course, Alberta. They have a peer-to-peer support model for adolescents that are, battling SUD. It's the whole family gets involved. It's this really cool system, kind of groundbreaking stuff. It isn't groundbreaking. It's been around for 30 some odd years, but nobody's really been talking about it until recently, and I'm really happy to be partnered up with them. So here's a PSA, and we'll get back to the show. A guest of mine from a long time ago, episode 171, I think it is, Joy McClure Harrison.
It's crazy. That was a long
lost
time
her
ago.
son at 21. to an overdose. Shortly thereafter, she is at home, notices kind of a traffic jam happening in her residential neighborhood because somebody is like stopped at the stop sign and not moving. She gets curious. The guy is overdosed at the steering wheel. She has Narcan. She passes it out like candy on Halloween. Right? So she's always got some around. She runs out. I don't think she administered it. She gave it to somebody, like a nurse that happened to be on scene or whatever, and they saved his life. If you can, like, this is somebody who's lost their son. So, like, that whole full circle, I think that's beautiful that she did that. But it's just one of those examples. She's at home, right? In suburbia, assumably, whatever. And all of a sudden, she's got the Narcan that saved somebody's life, right? So it's like, I think Carl, my old co-host, Carl, is one that coined it. You might not plan on being around opioid use, but you never know when it's going to be around you. And you just don't.
I got it in my house. I got it in my truck. I don't use opiates.
No, right. I mean, and these days the odds of you being around it are down from where they were when you were like working right in the
yeah.
But it's still very possible.
Just why not?
Yeah. If you can think of a reason why not, I'll give you 5 more that say you should. Right? Like there's just no reason in the world that you shouldn't carry it, right? I feel.
Yeah.
most of the reaction to that post, that ad, that whatever, that content has been extremely positive, I'm sure. But then there's that vocal minority of horrible, hateful things, and you just, it's awful what people still, and it's hard because my world is full of recovery. And like you said, people get it, right? That have been around it enough or that have experienced SUD, they get it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really easy to just feel like everybody should get it. And then all of a sudden you put something like that out to the public and you see how many people just don't. It's horribly sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's like me having an opinion on cricket. Like, I don't understand it. How can I possibly have an opinion? Like, I could come up with, but regardless, again, like I said before, it's like when you understand what people go through, not just SUD clients, but the families, everything that's connected. I always say it's a nuclear orbit that destroys everything in its path.
Sure does.
That's what it doesn't care. And so it certainly doesn't care about those shitty opinions.
Yeah.
None of that. It doesn't. For me, all I hear when I hear that is I hear a statement of ignorance that, for me, calls for empathy, compassion. Because to have an opinion in something you don't really understand or know anything about, to me, that's like it's insecurity at its best. I mean, you're trying to be heard on something that you don't have any business talking about.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough, right? So
I don't even get angry anymore. It's just like, oh, that's sad. That's too bad that person thinks like that. That sucks.
I try not to. That's something that I need to work on, right? But I just, right? I get passionate pretty quick.
You are,
right?
and you know what? Don't ever change, man.
Yeah. I mean, getting angry doesn't serve anything, much less myself, right?
Okay.
So
then evolve organically. How about that?
Another crazy thing. Remember before we were recording, I said there's this thing that I wanted to say to you.
Yeah.
Fuck, I just remembered it. So, as I was driving along, I've moved now. I'm into the new place. I got my scooter with Sunny back up and running, so we're cruising around all over down here again. Sunny in the sidecar. Yeah. And the thing about when I'm driving with Sunny is I drive much slower for obvious reasons, but because I have to, because I have the sidecar on, and it's very different than driving a scooter by yourself. Mm-hmm. So it allows me to think more. I don't have to stay hyper focused on every meter of the road in front of me all the time. You know what I mean?
Kind of seems like you do anyway, though. Keep my eye.
It allows me to kind of go into my own thoughts a bit more, right?
Keep your eye on the road still.
Well, of course. It's beautiful. Where I live now, it's a 4-lane highway right out front of me. It's like, it's country living, man. It's crazy. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Strathmore 2.0.
Damn near, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful. It's even more country than where I was. And where I was like very small town. So, 8 minutes from the beach. It's something else. But as I'm driving along, I was thinking about this conversation that I had with a fella I met at Thai Language. He's the only Canadian that I've met there from Victoria. So you're part of the world, right?
Yeah. Like him already.
And we're talking, and his name's Dave, and he says, "So what'd you do back in Canada?" And this, you're gonna think this is interesting. I said, right, like without even thinking, as a piece of shit.
I thought you were gonna say like I was a illicit broker.
No, I was a piece of shit as a drug addict. What?
Ooh.
Like I said that about myself.
Wow.
Right. And like, right away I was like, whoa, what just happened?
Freudian.
Right. Like you can't no. Right. Like I was like, and I tried to correct myself, but I was kind of caught up in the fact that I had just said that. It was a really awkward nanosecond for me, probably much more so than it was for him. When we get to talking, well, doesn't this fellow, he lost his son to overdose at 27 years old, 5 years ago. Right. So, and then I was like, oh, okay, that was a really awkward moment now, right, for me, right?
So I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
It is. It's kind of one of those. What else do you do? Fucking things at that point.
That's my
right?
awkward laugh, I think.
Yeah, right. Like that's a coping laugh if I ever heard one, right? So and it was a terribly awkward thing to happen, but it really got me to thinking about how even now, from this place of empathy and understanding, self-forgiveness, all of those things that I've been working really hard at, there was that fucking moment of absolute shame at who I used to be, right? Which, wow, like how long does that take to go away? Because by now, I would never have thought those words would have come out of my mouth.
Well,
right?
Yeah, it is. It's reflective. There's a thing in. I'm gonna do it again. I'm doing it again. I'm doing an AA thing.
Yeah.
No matter how far down the path we've gone, we will not regret our past nor shut the door on it. And it says something about it being useful. I should know it. I've listened to it 1,000 times, but I don't, because I'm usually thinking about how I'm going to change everyone's life with my amazing share. So I don't listen to that.
Fucking cocky prick.
And honestly, I'm over. I've changed nobody's life. You know what I mean? Like I'm like over 1,000. What I think sounds good in here doesn't always sound good coming out.
Oh, let me tell you, I know.
Let me just wait a second for everyone to laugh. Oh, they didn't. So
yeah. Tough room. Yeah.
So my point is though is like, and so what they say is that if as you do the steps, these things start to happen. They're called the promises, and one of those things is we will know new freedom and we will know peace. Like. Which is kind of where I'm at right now. And like, I am not proud of the man I've been. I'll tell you that. Like, and so I relate to that. But how valuable is that to me now, today?
Very.
Exactly. Right? And like,
as are all of the experiences I had, same, extremely valuable to me. Right. I mean, and everything I do.
There is like this interesting dynamic within this industry though. Like, because if you're working on the docks and you're in the union and you have a substance use disorder, they'll send you to treatment, you come back to work, and that's it. But in this industry, if you're a helper in this industry, it does not work like that. If you are, if you have a relapse, then chances are you need to start your career over. And that, to me, is very unjust. And I missed that in the brochure. Not that I was ever planning on relapsing, but you know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have made a difference.
I don't feel, it wouldn't have made a difference because it's not something you would have considered happening at the time.
It's not. And the other thing is like, this is right for me. You know what I mean? When I talk about rhythm, when I do this work, I'm in rhythm. It is a matching of my existence to the work. So it becomes, it transcends the vocation. It is a part of me who I am. And so I would have done it anyway. And yeah, you're right. I never thought I'd relapse. And when I did relapse, I didn't think I was relapsing. So that's how fucked up that is. You know what I mean? Like, for 5 years, I was just drinking again. Yeah. It wasn't a relapse until I came back in.
Until it was, right? Yeah.
And another funny dynamic happened where, like, typically when somebody relapses, if they were like did something wrong or something, if they relapse and come back in, it's like the slate's clean. That didn't happen with me. It went the other way, where I got a lot more judgment, and I lost a lot of friends, to be honest with you. Like, and if I was a drywaller, I bet you that doesn't happen.
Of course it doesn't happen.
You know what I mean?
That's a really interesting hypocrisy. I don't know if hypocrisy is the right word for it. Dichotomy, most certainly, but
it is, and it's also I don't think there's anything intentional. It's just like there's so much fear in this thing, man. Like, like people are afraid of catching the relapse bug, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but I've watched it where people are like, "Wow, man, I don't know, that guy's relapsed. I'm cutting him out," like, that seems like the opposite thing we need to be doing. When somebody
exactly, it's I mean, that idea goes back into treatment too. It's like, oh, where you're caught using, you're kicked out. Well, but that right, they're here getting treated for that. Fuck.
So
right?
You're kicking me out for being a drug addict and using drugs. Yeah. So now I have been the guy that has to do that many times,
and I can make an argument for doing it as easily as I can make an argument for not doing it.
I'll tell you my theory around it. It was never the reason. It might have been the last reason. And it always had to do with the entire container. So for me, it was like, if we had a bunch of relapses, often it was like, man, bad timing. You know what I mean? Like, we just had 3 relapses last week. The system can't contain another one. So you got to go, but you can come back. You know what I mean? Go 30 days, you can come back. Yeah. And that's kind of how I always look at that. And it's also like, you didn't journal. You didn't do your chore. You didn't get up on time. You know what I mean? You weren't participating in group. Those are the things. And then it's like, and now you had a relapse. Like, you're not ready. You're not ready for this. But a single isolated relapse is somebody that was doing everything they can. I can guarantee you that I would not ask them to leave at that point.
Fair enough.
But I also understand drug addicts use drugs.
I'm no expert on the treatment world. You know a lot more about that world than I do, to say the least. But I don't feel like that policy would be a blanket thing. I think it would be much more common to say, a relapse, you're out. Right? I think you would be the exception to the rule, right?
That's the easy way to me, because it's the easy thing to do. Relapse, you're gone. Your message is there. Everything's the same. But that's not. These are human beings that have put their trust in their lives into our hands.
Yeah,
I need to treat them like human beings, and that means an individual approach in every facet. And I'm pretty open about it. Like, here's why. Here's where we are. And this is not. I didn't actually do any of that. I'm the one that has to give you the bad news. But often, like, I want to find ways to make them use that experience to grow. And if I can do that, then so to me, it's a powerful and beautiful opportunity if they survive, of course, which doesn't always happen.
If they survive, right?
Yeah,
which we know.
And that's a point that I need to drive home. Like, hey, you survived. Like, count your lucky stars, because I don't even know what we're at right now. 20,000 since 2016, something like
that. I don't even know anymore.
In BC,
I know. Well, in BC, it is now the leading cause of death amongst young people. Correct.
Yeah,
I think that stat is an official thing, right? Which is a conversation I had in the comments again the other day. It was like, young people. These are people who haven't even had a chance to live with a fully functioning, healthy brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we are demonizing them for succumbing to their disease. Right?
Honestly,
and it's like, fuck, man. Like, how?
Let's be real. You want to be really honest. This has been an epidemic since the 80s. Yeah. And the downtown east side, for sure. It's just when the people started showing up dead in West Vancouver, and you have senators' sons are dying, and police chiefs' daughters are dying. That's when it became an epidemic. When it was the poor and the disenfranchised,
downtrodden, and, all of that, right? Yeah. No big deal.
No, because I mean, do they qualify as citizens? Like, fuck off. Sorry.
Yeah. No sorry needed. That's a well placed fuck off if there ever was.
Wow. I mean, we're all sons and daughters and brothers and sisters. Like, let's not ever forget that. you know, and and within each human being is hope and love and passion and fire and like all of that stuff. And the problem with substance use disorder is it takes that away. It takes our ability to access the parts of our brain that give us our individuality, and really we recess into an animalistic style of life, which is fight or flight. It's dog eat dog, you know, like. And that, but the other magical thing, if you actually go spend time down in downtown East Side, what you'll see is an extremely vibrant community of people that help each other. Now, when it comes down to it, and when it comes down to them or the drug, the substance use disorder takes over. But when it comes, but the majority of time, that community is extremely strong. Those people will help each other, give each other the shirt off their back, and then if they need dope, they'll steal it back. But you know what I mean, like.
So true. It's so true, right? And I've spoken to that multiple times in multiple episodes where you'll see somebody who's got 2 points, and which for somebody who's not aware, a very, very small amount, you know, a few hours worth of dope really for somebody that's sick, right?
Yeah.
And beside them will be somebody who's really dope sick.
Oh.
And they'll share that with them.
Yeah.
Almost every time.
Yeah.
Knowing their life is going to get really shitty in about 4 hours.
Yeah. I've watched people
if
give
they
their
share this,
only
but they'll
point
share it anyway
to somebody who's sick.
Yeah.
You know,
right. Which is just amazing, you know.
I have myself. I actually just talked with a friend about this the other day. Like, I have given people money to get down because I know what it's like to be dope sick, and I don't want that for anyone.
Yeah,
you know
that's a human being suffering. At the end of the day, that's 100%. That's what it is, right?
I will never apologize for that ever.
No, and there is a school of thought that would just rip you apart for that. And
they could try.
Have at her, right?
Yeah.
And I've done the same, right? I've sent 20 of my last $40 just before I came to Thailand to somebody, right? Yeah. Because I knew that, like, it was like, well, here, you know, like, sorry, I wish I could give you more, I can't, but this will take the edge off for a little bit for you anyway, right? So, you know, right.
And so like really strong snapshot of people that understand the affliction and then people that don't.
Yeah.
You know,
right there.
And honestly, if you don't understand, get educated before you have an opinion, please.
Yeah. Everybody's entitled to an informed opinion, right?
100%. And if you've done the work to be educated and have an opinion that's not like mine, I want to celebrate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's just ignorance and hate, I don't even want to engage. I just want to turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say you're wrong. I don't even think it deserves that. It's just like, that's sad. You know? And we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it.
Yeah. It's fucking awful, man. You know?
It is. But go ahead.
I want to switch gears kind of, because it's something we started to touch on, and that was with yourself. You know, you relapse and all of a sudden your relationship with the entire recovery community changes, not for the better in a lot of those instances.
Well, no, I can't agree with that. I actually think it's the opposite.
Okay.
And the reason is
the part
because
I was speaking to, though, was what we were talking about. So, okay.
Yes. So when I say I've lost friends, what I've lost is people that I thought were friends.
Okay. But the point I'm getting to here, and I know what you're saying, and I love what you're saying, but that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Sorry.
Recently, I did a reel with Lisa, who finished off an episode saying, if you relapse out loud, right? Like, please, right? Like, rally the troops, say the things. And we know why she said that, you know, why that's on her mind. You know,
I relapsed out loud. I know exactly. It was terrifying. Fucking terrifying. Yes.
But we know watching that reel, and I don't know if you've caught that one, Ryan, or not, but the pain in her eyes and in her voice is very much there, right? And we both know why. However, what you're just speaking to now, if you are at a place in the recovery community and you get to a certain place, to hide that relapse is so fucking easy to do.
Oh man.
So, like just to default to it. Right?
Did it for 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Because like there's almost no incentive to relapse out loud. Right. Not on the surface. I mean, deep down, there's a lot of incentive to do it. Right. But on the surface, there's almost no incentive.
There's a reason we did on here.
Yeah.
And that's the why. And it was fucking terrifying, man. I was sick.
Yeah.
with vulnerability remorse, not recording remorse, vulnerability remorse.
Yeah, right.
You know,
So,
and it's especially when you built something, you know, and have the optics and you have respect and all those things, and like that's what goes is people lose respect instead of going the other way, which to me, I would want to be like, good for you. You know, and you go to a meeting and someone comes back, everybody claps. They don't fucking say, fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But somehow, some reason, and you know, and I was actually talking to Jimmy about it. It's like that's the product of pedestaling people. Like it is such a disservice to that individual that you put on the pedestal because they have no room to fall. They have no room to be human and to be of air. And and it sucks. It sucks. Because the reality is, I mean, I fuck things up all the time. You know, if I do anything well, it's fuck things up. You know what I mean? Like,
it's my superpower.
Yeah, right. Like,
I understand. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, for sure, right.
And like, so why don't take that away from me, man? Like, I want to be fallible. How else am I going to learn?
Yeah,
you know. And so, but the you know, like I said, the other side of that is that there was a group of amazing human beings that did the exact opposite, and that you know, obviously Devin being the forefront of that. That have reinstilled my love for the human spirit and connection and what it is to be. I mean, I'm inspired to be a good friend to other people because of how people have treated me in my time of peril. Yeah, you know, and I know who they are. Yeah, and, you know, and I, like when I say I know who they are, I don't mean like I know who they are. I mean I know who they are. I know what's behind under the hood, and what that is virtue and pure and to quote Viktor Frankl, of love and in love. And that's where meaning is driven from, you know? Yeah. So, I guess what I'll say to that is like, you can't fill a cup that's already full. Yeah. Be humble, to quote Kendrick Lamar. Sorry, I just listened to it on the way in today. I'm not going to say the words because anyway, no, but you know, and like I mentioned, humility and ego being not holding the same space at the same time. I mean, it is to be humble is to have an access to the metaphysical or the spiritual, because humility is an invitation. Arrogance is a disconnect. It's a rejection of connection. You know what I mean? So, and you know, and it makes sense to me that my self-worth is way down and my arrogance is way up. I don't want you to find out how fucked up I am. Yeah. But when my confidence is high and my humility is high, then I'm an open book. Like, I don't fear what you think. And the tragedy of that is that reading minds is not part of the human experience. And we all do it and we all fail horribly. Yeah. Right. Like horribly.
So I'll lighten that one up just a little bit, but it's because it's my style to do that. But literally every time I hear somebody say, "Oh, I know people, I can read people," it's like, but you can't. Yeah. You can't. Everybody thinks they can read people. Everybody thinks that, you know, right? There's a cognitive distortion happening there, ma'am. No, you cannot read people, right? But,
yeah, let me know when you're a guest on the Tonight Show for your amazing abilities. Because
what was he called? What was he called? Johnny Carson. Was it like the Great Zambini or something stupid? But that's not what it was, right? Yeah. He's got that big, horribly racist thing going on there.
So racist. I can't remember. So racist. I don't remember, but yeah, I remember. Anyways, I think what I'm getting at here is like, in order for me to be accessible, I need to not be arrogant. I need to not have disconnect. To remove disconnect, I need to stop. So arrogance is a big one. Worship of self is another one, and the need for chaos. Being comfortable in calamity is a very disconnectable state. And so, you know, we talk about this journey for peace. I mean, and that's really what's evolved from all of this is like, you know, it evolved years ago that I realized that sobriety was not the answer. Peace is. That's what I want from life. Unfortunately, I can't have it without sobriety.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's I've come to terms with that sometime a while back. It was like sobriety is not the goal. Sobriety is a necessary step to achieve the goal.
It's the
For me,
Phillips screwdriver.
right, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
The reason I say that is because we get
hold on, Phillips screwdriver. What the fuck metaphor are you talking about now?
It's a tool. It's not the toolbox. It's a tool in the box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That would have been way easier to say it's a tool instead of Phillips screwdriver. Random fucking
come on.
vague.
You can put that. You can put that together.
Crap was
now,
that?
There's a design to that way of talking. And the idea is exactly what I did there, is to keep you engaged and in thought process.
I used a terrible metaphor because I wanted you to fuck off.
Yeah. All part of my plan. It's all by design.
You might have pulled that one over on me a year ago, bro, but we're not there.
Check out how amazing I am. Eh?
Just testing you. Testing you. Yeah. Well, that's completely off topic, which again I tend to do.
Yeah.
The Phillips versus Robertson screwdriver thing. Do you know anything about that history?
One's Canadian.
Yeah, the Roberts, the square ones, right? But so if you go into anywhere into the US, you will not see Robertson screws.
Not one, I know.
Right? And they fight it. My understanding is that they fight it because it's not like the American is the Phillips and the Canadian is the Robertson.
Okay. Then, right? That's what I know about it. I know, right. And I know that it's a far inferior interface.
Like it's not even close.
No.
Right? When you know. It blows my mind that the pride there, right? Yeah.
Honestly, every time I see a Phillips, I'm like, I'm going to strip this fucking thing. And sure enough, I do. You know,
guaranteed. Yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah, this thing is fucked. Right?
You got to work to strip a Robertson. You really got to.
I'm totally capable of it. Totally capable of it.
Just like the drill.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Anyway. Yeah.
What was my point there after I was testing you?
I don't know, making up fucking metaphors, and that was horrible.
No, it's not. It's the
me making that metaphor up was vice grips.
Yeah,
there was another tool in the toolbox. So it's like
good metaphor. Good metaphor. Well done. You're really coming into your own.
Metaphor shaming me.
You don't belong here. Okay. Anyways, my point was that every time that I focused on sobriety, it all became about extrinsic. It was like, oh, that person's got 10 years. He must be able to recite the encyclopedia. Like, I don't know where we get off thinking that because somebody didn't put drugs in their system for X amount of time that they have superpower. You know what I mean? Like, so then, and invariably, I became extrinsically focused, which negated my ability to grow within. You know what I mean? And what would happen? My sobriety date would change. You know what I mean? Like, and then it was just like, I came to this realization that was like, what do I want from life? And what I want from life now I fucked this up because I didn't stay sober, but I want peace. I just want to live in a peaceful existence. You know what I mean? And what I found in the last trip was that I have to be sober to have that. I cannot have, alcohol, drug, whatever it is. I can't be using that thinking I'm going to experience peace. It's not going to, and if I do, it's drug induced. It's not real. It's a pokeroo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, pokeroo. Huh?
Nobody's going to get that reference
80s
either.
kids.
That's
Come on, 80s kids out there. You guys know
that was such a Canadian thing, right? Pokeroo
was it?
So,
was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
it?
Pokeroo. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I use that all the time. I can't help myself. So like what it's just like all the fucking pieces are coming together again. Like, oh, that makes it, and all the shit that I heard 20 years ago in meetings starts to make sense. Like, oh, that's what I meant by that. Like, and I'm going beyond the like. Sometimes you got to fuck a few newcomers to know why you shouldn't fuck newcomers. That was one of my old sponsors' famous lines.
You told me that once. That's horrible.
Well, no, but I actually used it in a bigger spectrum where it was like sometimes you got to fuck up to know why you don't fuck up. or know why you shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, and
fair enough.
And so it is a little crude that it ties back to that, but that's where it made sense to me, was when I was doing dumb shit in my 20s, like, which we all did, right? Yeah. So
and 30s and
yeah,
most of my 40s so far.
Now, granted, my 20s went way into my 30s. Way into my 30s. I don't even know if I hit 30s. I think I went from 20s to 40s. You know what I mean? Yeah.
43 for sure.
Well, see, I finally got a credit card at age 38. So, and most people get credit cards at like 20. So really, I took that for a ride, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but so to kind of tie that back in, is like this gift that we get is, I don't think there's words. Like, when we understand what we've been given in the idea of what life is, like what's in front of us, there's no room for anything else but gratitude and appreciation. Like, to be given the gift of relationship, to be given the gift of fatherhood, to be given the gift of friendship. Never mind this connection of within ourselves. Like, and I think that might be the most important, because that's the difference between me being able to look in the mirror and not, or be disgusted with what I see. And so when I have this connection within, and really, like, I think that's like the agenda of the whole spiritual element that Carl Jung talked about, being that you know Carl Jung. Yeah,
you've referenced him a lot, and I feel like I should know, so I'm going to nod and smile and pretend like I do. And then
he was in the early days, he was a friend to the beginnings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and wrote what he did was he did a study with extreme alcoholics, and studied them for a couple of years, and came to a conclusion that there was no other solution to the problem of alcoholism other than the spiritual one, and which got him in a lot of hot water, because in those days his therapy was very psychoanalytic. It's very like Freudian. You lay on the couch and I sit above you and tell you what's wrong with you. And he was like, well, there's more to it than this. There's a metaphysical element to the human experience that we need to look at. And so, I think, I don't know about.
Did he do that? So what did I understand? Did he do that from a Christian standpoint, or from a scientific way, like analysis of it kind of
thing? I don't know why he did it, but my guess would be that it would be an extreme challenge to the time of psycho analysis, which kind of was branching off into person-centered and all these other things at that time. But he was the first one to actually bring in something not science-based, evidence-based, as in spiritual, as one of the pillars of human existence. And so that's we have spiritual, mental, emotional, or you can look at the biopsychosocial spiritual element, where that's what most substance use disorder treatment is based on. It's like the BPSS, it's called, which is biological, psychological, the social element, and then the spiritual element. And those are the four things that we need to get healthy in order to be a comprehensive human being. And so I think that, what my experience with trying to tap into something that is beyond myself, or to use verbiage of the community, God of my understanding, is that it's really put me in touch with me, just by looking at my defects, which I'm not crazy about that word. I think everything's an opportunity. So a defect is actually an opportunity for strength if we can cultivate it in a way. But what it does is it makes me look at me. And it makes me look at the things that I don't want to look at. It makes me look at the things that I would love to be able to look at, but I don't have the self-worth to be able to handle. Like, maybe I'm actually good at something, but you give me a compliment and I say, no, it's you. You know what I mean? Like,
who can? Very rare do you meet somebody who can actually just take a compliment at for what it is.
Well, if you do meet someone, rare. You can point at them and say, "There's somebody who did some work," because it's not natural. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and like
It really isn't, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, somebody that can do that without ego and arrogance anyway is like, it's a very rare thing to come across somebody that can do that.
but even with
right?
ego and arrogance, it's not the same.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah,
Right.
'cause
So
you're like,
that's kind of the
hey,
point.
you're
I'm
really
making,
good at
is that
it. Like,
it's
yeah,
just-
I know I'm the best.
Yeah.
You know, like
right?
totally nailed
Yeah,
it. You know,
that's icky and gross.
yeah,
right?
yeah. But if it's like, yeah,
somebody that
thank
just
you.
says thank you, and for myself, that's something that Brian that I've worked on really hard.
Mhm.
Just say thank you.
Yeah, and me too.
Don't
man.
qualify it with your ridiculous negative self-talk shit and your coping humor. Just say thank you.
Well, you
Right?
saw,
And it's tough to do.
I've been
right?
doing this for
Yeah,
a decade or so.
Yeah.
You think about all the
Yeah.
people that have thanked me for helping them over the years. And for the longest time, it was, I didn't do anything. I just sat here and listened. You know what I mean? That was my response.
Right. It was just like a fucking blatant lie.
Well,
right? Because like if I could do that with a chair, right? If this is you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing sitting in that chair in order for this to work, right?
it is.
And it's a wonderful thing that you push that back onto that person.
It's
but
not.
At the end of the day, it's you just not accepting a fucking compliment.
And I'm taking away from
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
Yeah.
I'm taking because it takes someone thought and courage to be able to give a compliment. You know what I mean?
Damn straight it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had this I had a moment my early years, first trip through, I think, where I would meet with my sponsor every Sunday, and we would meet an hour before our home group, go over the book for half an hour, and we would talk about how it applies to our life for the next half hour. Regiment. That's the way I was taught how to do this thing, the sponsorship and all that. And then at one of the times, he paid the bill, and I got upset.
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck you," you know what I mean? Like I work. I'm a man. I'll pay. You know. And he was like, "Fuck you, man! Like, why would you take that away from me? I'm just trying to do something nice and feel good about myself for 10 minutes."
Ooh.
I was like,
Ooh.
"Fuck!" Like, yeah,
that's a moment right there.
Yeah,
right?
And I never forgot it, honestly. Like, and so now, like, what I want to do is when someone thanks me, I want to say thank you, and in my mind, I want to appreciate that I got to bear witness the act of organic, meaningful gratitude as it was appreciated and articulated in one moment that I got to share with that person. That's where I want to be. Now, whether I am or not is completely dependent on where I am with my intrinsic resources of self-esteem, self-worth, and self-respect.
Fair enough. Eh? That's beautiful, man. I like that.
Well, the theory's great, but like
but
I said,
it's hard to do.
It's
right?
completely dependent on where I'm at and how I feel about myself at any given time.
One of the things you said to me early when we first started doing this thing, man, was treat yourself like you would your best friend, right? And I'm not sure if that's an original quote on your behalf or something that you've repeated, but you're the guy I attribute. You're the guy that says that to me when I play it in my head.
I'm honored.
Right?
Thank you.
That's a big deal. There we are. Right? But that statement is a big deal. And I've tried to make it a meme a few times, and it doesn't hit that well because I feel like you really need some context, and it just doesn't fit into a meme because you need to have some context behind it. But I wish more people understood that premise.
Okay, I got
right, and how important it is.
I got live questions that I like to do. And what if that meme just came across as, what would your world look like if you treated yourself like your best friend?
There you go. Maybe that's ask a question instead of make a statement.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's engaging in the thought process, okay. Kind of like a Phillips screwdriver.
You keep talking, I'm going to make a meme. Okay, go.
Okay, ready? It's like a Phillips screwdriver. Make a meme.
It's not like a fucking Phillips screwdriver. Fuck you and your Phillips screwdriver.
Oh, that's funny.
It's funny, for sure. Oh, no, it is. And it's like, if we just did, right?
Yeah.
I get complimented often. That sounds like, see, right there, it sounds like an arrogant thing to say. But no, it's true. And I do. And it is so hard, even now, saying all the things we've just said, having this conversation, it's still hard to do. And that's just, it's something I feel like a person has to work on for your whole life, right? As,
and aren't
have to, and that's fine.
Aren't all these things? Like, we have to, whatever you don't maintain, you lose. Period. Fucking science, man. Like, if I don't change oil in my car, I lose my car. If I don't tell my wife she's pretty, I lose my wife. You know, like, if I don't maintain my own self-worth, my own intrinsic resources, then they bottom out. And that's not even the problem. The problem is what manifests from that, the behaviors that come from that, the selfishness, the self-centeredness, all that shit, especially
the stuff that takes its place. Right? Right.
I wanted to read something.
Mm-hmm.
Humility is the result of knowing. Oh, it's just got a God thing in it. I'm saying it anyway. This is our daily reflection. Humility is the result of knowing that God is the doer, not me. In the light of his awareness, how can I take pride in my accomplishments? Am I an instrument, and any work I seem to be doing is being done by God through me? I ask God on a daily basis to remove my shortcomings in order that I may more freely go about my business of AA, of love and service. So let's de-God that a little bit.
Okay.
And what is that saying? Humility is the result that I'm doing for my fellow man instead of for myself. You know what I mean? It is.
Yeah.
It is being. You know, I want to be teachable so I can enhance and maintain a relationship. As soon as I know better, I'm alone. As soon as I'm the expert, I'm alone. You know what I mean? Like, in if I'm alone, you know what's happening. Like, substance use disorder, that's its playground, loneliness.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
And its job is to get us isolated away from the pack and slowly, like cutting your heart out with a spoon, slowly kills you in the worst kind of death possible. And that's why, like, you know, the opioid epidemic is awful. But is there anything more sad and painful to watch than an alcoholic death?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, it you know, I mean, shake the family tree. I mean, for most of us, we shake that tree, and you got some sad stories falling out.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
Yeah, and, you know, and I have some real close to me, and it you know, to say, I guess you could say that I've taught myself apathy, but it's a facade. There's deep sadness underneath it, to be honest. Like, you know, and like, you know, I don't want to come out and say what I'm talking about, but I think you know. And we can learn. The only thing we can do to make value from that is learn from it.
Yep.
Which I have, and I like to think I have. The story's not over yet, but I hope that there's enough there. I just know that I want my little girls to look up to me when I'm gone. I want them to say nice things. You know, and I want to be their hero, and whatever that looks like, I don't know. I don't really know how to do that. I know what not to do. A lot of that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
One could say I'm an expert.
Yeah. Like, don't leave your kids in a car at the bar for 8 hours and bring them out a grape knee-high every 4 hours and a slice of shitty pizza from Lami's. You remember that place?
No, I don't.
Lami's?
No.
It was right in the corner of 36 and Marlborough Drive.
36.
Right across from the Church SkyTrain station, or the C train station.
C-train station.
There's a little strip mall there. Yeah.
Oh, by 7-Eleven there.
Yeah. Remember, like, there was like
Oh yeah, your dad's watering hole is right there. And yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We used to throw our skateboards off the mezzanine level up top.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's where I learned about grape knee highs. Which I don't even know where they are, to be honest with you. It's grape pop, maybe.
I have no idea.
I don't know why it walked me home. It was 8 minutes away. Anyway. But my, you know, it is, and again, it's like we look at the amount of intelligence that exists, cognitive intelligence that exists within the people who have a substance use disorder, and it's staggering, actually. Like, you know, and you talk about the stigma about, I did anyway, about the epidemic only happening once it hit citizens of prestige. But if we look at the population or the demographic of people in substance use disorder, whether it be Hastings or Whistler, it doesn't matter. You're going to find intelligent people that are really struggling with their own intelligence and their own existence. And you know,
absolutely.
And so how do we, when you take IQ and EQ, like, if one of them is out of balance, it's working too hard, you know, and we see it much more with the IQ over EQ, just based on our social tapestry. But when we see those people that have a balance, they stick out. It's like an aura around them. It's like there's a gleam in their eye. There's, you know what I mean? Like, they figured something out that we all haven't yet.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's amazing to me how attracted people are to that. You know, and I heard Brene Brown say one time that interesting people are interested people, which really speaks to the EQ IQ balance, in my opinion.
It does.
Yeah. Yes, because if I'm insecure, who am I thinking about?
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah,
right, 100%.
Right. But if I know who I am and I know how I feel and I know how to express that, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions about you. And my old mentor always used to say, "That which appreciates appreciates." So when I'm appreciating you, I become more. And that's the transaction of love in action. That's how we evolve. We become more and expand beyond what we think it was our potential. And like, and you know, and substance use disorder, that's another thing. Substance use disorder just robs us of is even a glimpse of potential, a glimpse at understanding what could be, what we could do with this life, this gift of life. And the other thing it does is it starts to take away the wrapping paper of the gift of life. And I don't know why, but we hit this point where we fucking hate living. This beautiful gift that we've been given. And take it for granted. That's got to be a really powerful thing that can do that to a human being. It can make the gift of life mundane. That's a really powerful agent. And I like that thing you posted about Hannibal Lecter there. What's his name? Come on. River runs through it.
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. When he says, what was the meme again?
I don't remember for the life of me. That was like 100 memes ago.
No. Yeah. Well, I spent so much energy trying to remember his name, I forgot the meme.
Well, you have to check out our Facebook page. Go look for a picture of Anthony Hopkins.
Go check it out, and then we'll talk about it sometime. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, next one around, right? But we are at the top of the hour here, brother. That happens that quickly.
I know.
We will move into to my favorite part of the show, which is the Daily Gratitudes. And today, the Daily Gratitudes are brought to you by the Yatra Trauma Center here in Krabi, Thailand, where I reside. They treat trauma. They do it very, very, very well. Specifically, I'm going to speak to, if you've had a loved one who's been through the gambit and suffering an addiction or has suffered or whatever with SUD, take a look at your own trauma. You've been through the ringer, and you deserve to address that. And Yatra just might be the place to do that. So check them out. Go to the website, a2apodcast.com/trauma. You can get a bunch of episodes where we've talked about trauma, and as well, of course, get their contact info. So what you got for some gratitudes today, Ryan?
I talked about it. Life itself, like, it's truly a beautiful gift. I'm also grateful for the opportunities that come along when we start doing the right things. And I got something cooking right now that I don't want to talk about yet, but I had an idea in my head what my next step was.
Yeah.
And it showed up, kind of.
Now you got me curious. So,
the potential has shown up. I've gone through a process, but it means I might be in a different part of the province. So I'm grateful for
It
opportunity.
happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Just insert cliche here, right? So yeah. So
And then
preferably not Phillips screwdriver, some other metaphor.
I would use the Phillips screwdriver metaphor as often as you can. I'll be giving a nickel to everyone that uses it from here on. It is the most concise and well-rounded metaphor that I can think of.
Ever. It applies to literally everything. Whether it's cooking or recovery or space travel, the Phillips screwdriver metaphor is
hands down.
Yes.
Hands down. The best metaphor.
Best.
And
best metaphor ever.
I will also not be sending anyone a nickel for using the metaphor, okay?
I just imagine Donald Trump saying, best metaphor ever.
Yeah. Or
you can't do a Trump imitations.
You know who can, though, is, what's his name? Oh, he's so good. Alec Baldwin. His Trump metaphor.
Oh, yeah. The SNL. That's classic. Yeah.
Here's the...
Anyway.
My beautiful children is my last one, of course.
Yeah.
And Marina, and my family, like,
of course.
And those really close friends that I would consider family as well that have really shown up in the last while.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Myself, got it's an interesting one. Sonny is at that. Yes, I just said your name. He's at the top of my mind again today. Yesterday, I went to go buy him a doghouse, like a secondhand doghouse, and I had to take the sidecar scooter to do it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if I leave the house with the sidecar, and Sonny's not in it, we have problems. It's the only behavioral issues I have with my dog, is when I leave with the sidecar and he's not in it. Has a temper tantrum until I get back. Whines, cries, carries on, barks, like it's nuts. And of course, I don't want to annoy my neighbors. So yesterday, I'm trying to explain to my 70-year-old Thai landlords why I'm pushing the scooter and sidecar down the driveway out to the road, sneaking it like I would my mom's car, stealing it.
Yeah, I've done that. I know exactly. Yeah. I did it with
pushing it out
with a standard,
sneaking away. I'm trying. Of course, right? So there's a language barrier here. So now I'm trying to explain to them why I'm sneaking away with this, and they just think I'm nuts. So I'm thankful for my dog. He makes my heart happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also thankful to every single person. And metaphors. I love well-placed metaphors. I'm also thankful to every single person who continues to like, comment, share, talk about, do all the things, interact with the content. You guys, please keep doing it. We're growing so fast right now, and I couldn't be more appreciative for every single interaction. Every time you do these things, you're getting me a little bit closer to living my best life. My best life is to continue making humble living, spreading the message. And the message is this: if you're in active addiction right now, today could be the day. Today could be the day that you start that lifelong journey. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, call it a detox, pray, go to church. I don't give a shit. Do whatever it is you got to do to get that journey started, because it is so much better than the alternative. And if you have a loved one who's suffering an addiction right now, you've taken the time to listen to this metaphoric conversation. If you just take one more minute out of your day and text that person, let them know they are loved. Use the words,
"You are loved."
That little glimmer of hope just might be the thing that brings them back. Boom.